Hey there, folks. We're going to talk about another SIG, but it sounds like it went off in the holster. What we would call the uncommanded discharge, to the extent that that's even a thing. Now, for the record, if there's ever an accidental discharge or a negligent discharge or whatever you want to call it, and somebody's oh yeah, my gun just went off, and they shot themselves in the leg and they've got a holster on, and they carry the thing, I'm going to tend to not believe that person didn't do anything to cause that, right? Even if it's a SIG 320, doesn't really matter. The first thing is when somebody's like, oh yeah, the gun just went off. Like, I didn't do anything. I didn't touch anything. Like, I'm going to be skeptical. That's the right thing to do. And in this situation, I saw some news reports and saw some comments online that there was an incident with a school resource officer. I looked at some news stuff. It's like not entirely clear what happened. One guy on social media hooked me up with an actual bulletin that they sent out saying, yep, that there was a discharge of the firearm while the firearm was in the holster, resulted in a leg injury for this school resource officer. Marble Falls Independent School District, I think, is where this happened. Again, we don't really know any details at this point, but it's an interesting thing to talk about because the uncommanded discharge thing has been a point of discussion with these pistols for a long time. Now, first I should tell you, like, a lot of people say, hey, that's never happened, doesn't happen. I would kind of be very, very skeptical, like I said, of any sort of uncommanded discharge, except for long ago, I actually witnessed one with my own eyes. I was like, I watched it happen. It was like, I still didn't really believe it, even though I saw it. Like, that's how weird it is. But this is the type of thing that can happen. I don't know how much it's happened with the SIG 320s, but it does definitely seem to be associated. I've gone and worked at some places where those guys are like, yep, like we had an issue in our unit, and yeah, our armorers looked at it. Yes, they understand the problem. I've seen the same videos a lot of you guys have seen. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand it. A lot of you SIG nerds talk about the SIG armor. I actually chatted with him on Instagram the other day. He seems very well informed. He doesn't really understand. He's like, I don't know, don't know what's going on. But in any event, it does appear that there's been an uncommanded discharge with the SIG 320, probably another uncommanded discharge. That's what it looks like. I don't really know details. But again, this is one of those things where it's kind of interesting to look at that and consider and be like, what would cause this? How would you mitigate this? Blah, 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 all that stuff. I'd be curious what you guys think in the comments. Do you think this is real? Yes or no? I suspect a lot of you don't think this is real. I'm not upset if people are skeptical about this. Again, it's like people should be skeptical of this type of thing. Yeah, it just went off in the holster. Like, yeah, bullshit. Like, something caused that. I get it. I think it's happened with the SIGs. I believe it's happened. Couldn't prove it. Other people have tried to prove it in court. Apparently, between SIGs lawyers and whatever other whatever tools they have, that nobody's been able to really prove it in court, I guess. But then at the same time, I think the statement that SIG put out a little while ago, like their defense was like, nobody's been able to prove this happened in court. Nobody's been able to prove in court that this happened. It's kind of like, that's not very persuasive to me either. Like, that's kind of a pretty soft sort of denial, in my opinion. So, do you think this is real? If you think it's real, specifically, what do you think is causing it? What is it, like a geometry thing and with the sear? Like, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm very curious what you all think is going on with the uncommanded discharge issue. If you think it's even real, which I suspect a lot of you are skeptical. I mean, for me, I was skeptical for a long time, and then it's like, I've been to some places that I can't give details about, that it's just kind of like, okay, like, you guys are convinced, like, then I should be a believer too. Let me put it that way.